I'm going to tell you what your father never dared to say, what your teachers couldn't teach, what society has buried beneath 1,000 polite lies. You were not born into peace. You were born into a battlefield where every smile hides a dagger, where every promise is a trap. From your first breath, you were programmed to be weak, told to be nice, to obey, to play fair. But life does not reward the nice. It rewards the prepared, the cunning, the dangerous. Machiavelli was not a cynic. He was a surgeon of reality, peeling away the skin of illusion to reveal the skeleton of power. He showed us not how things should be, but how they are. And here's the truth. The world is not broken. It is not unjust. It is simply predatory. The weak are devoured. The strong decide the menu. Everything else is a bedtime story for slaves. Most men will never know this. They'll die with slogans in their mouths and chains around their necks, smiling, obedient, harmless. But you're here now. That means something inside you has already begun to rot the mask. You're ready to see. And once you see, there's no going back. You will never again mistake kindness for virtue. You will never again confuse popularity with power. So if you're ready to stop being prey, if you're ready to burn the false idols of morality, loyalty, and trust, then this journey is for you. Like this video, subscribe, and brace yourself. What's coming is not comfort. It's clarity. It's the beginning of your rebirth. Not into the man society wanted, but into the one nature demands. A man feared, a man respected, a man untouchable. You've been told humans are rational, that we think, compare, decide. But this is the first lie. We don't think, we feel. We don't decide, we react. Machiavelli knew it. Nietzsche screamed it. Men act not from logic but from hunger, for power, for sex, for status, for survival. A beautiful lie will conquer a harsh truth every time. That's why the man who masters emotion doesn't argue. He conquers. He doesn't try to prove a point. He makes people feel like he's already won. In war, in business, in love, the one who controls emotion controls the game. That's why tyrants rise with speeches, not spreadsheets. That's why the seducer doesn't explain. He enchants. And that's why you keep losing. Because you thought being right was enough. It's not. Being felt is. You walk into a room thinking people care what's true. They don't. They care what makes them feel safe, admired, aroused, seen. That's why you can be ignored while the liar thrives. That's why your advice is dismissed while the manipulator is followed. Stop trying to change minds. Start shaping feelings. Don't tell her you're good for her. Make her fear losing you. Don't tell your boss you work hard and make him feel you're irreplaceable. Don't tell the world you matter. Make them sense your presence before you speak. And if you can't do that, you'll always be an extra in someone else's movie. The lead actor is not the most moral, he's the most magnetic. Learn the difference or stay invisible. There is a reason predators don't hunt each other. Lions don't stalk other lions. Wolves don't devour other wolves. They smell strength and they walk away. But the sheep, the trembling, compliant, polite little sheep, they're a buffet. This is not cruelty. This is nature. Weakness is not a flaw. It is bait. It attracts domination, betrayal, abandonment. It doesn't matter how kind you are, how loyal you've been, or how much you love. If you radiate weakness, the world will feed on you. Machiavelli said it best. It's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Because fear protects, love invites attack, and the man who confuses the two will die wondering why no one stayed loyal when it mattered most. You were taught to be harmless, to never make others uncomfortable, to speak softly, bend easily, forgive quickly. And now you wonder why no one respects you, why she left you, why your career stalled. Because no one fears losing you. You've never shown that you can walk away from the job, the woman, the friendship. You've never bared your teeth, and the world only respects teeth. The moment you show you're willing to lose everything to keep your self-respect, everything changes. People listen, eyes shift, boundaries form. So stop aiming to be liked. Start becoming a man who, when he enters a room, the air tightens, not from charm, but from undeniable presence. Look at history, not the fairy tales, the facts. The kings who ruled, the generals who conquered, the CEOs who bent markets. Were they nice? Were they endlessly forgiving? eager to please, desperate for approval. No, they were fair when it served them, kind when it gained them loyalty, ruthless when it was necessary, because power does not belong to the agreeable. It belongs to the unapologetic, the man who can punish and protect, command and caress, strike and serve. That is the man others follow. The nice guy is a placeholder, a shadow, a forgotten face, because niceness without strength is just weakness in costume, and weakness is not respected. It is tolerated until it becomes a burden. Society wants you soft, wants you obedient, wants you grateful for crumbs. That's why it feeds you morality dressed as virtue. Be selfless, be humble, be loyal no matter what. But ask yourself, who benefits from that version of you? Who profits when you lower your head and bite your tongue? Not you, not your future. The truth is brutal. If you keep playing the good boy, you will live a forgettable life, die a forgettable death, and be remembered, if at all, as the man who never made anyone uncomfortable. But the man who dares to shatter that script, who embraces power without shame, who chooses respect over popularity, he doesn't just survive, he dominates. You were told loyalty is noble, that standing by someone no matter what is a sign of strength. But what they didn't tell you is this: loyalty without reciprocity is slavery, and slaves get used and then discarded. Look closely at your life. That friend who only calls when he needs something, that employer who praises your work, then cuts your hours, that partner who demands commitment while keeping options open. Is that loyalty? Or is it exploitation wearing a friendly face? Machiavelli saw this clearly. Loyalty is a contract, not a commandment. When one side breaks it, the other side owes nothing. The man who keeps giving, loyalty to those who don't return it isn't noble. He's prey, and the world has no mercy for prey. So what do? You test, you observe, you learn to read people not by what they say, but by what they do when there's nothing in it for them. Who shows up when there's no reward? Who stays when you're no longer useful? Those are your allies. The rest are liabilities. You don't need a crowd. You need a core, a few who have proven themselves through fire. And if no one does, then walk alone. Lone wolf lives longer than the loyal dog chained to a false master. Loyalty is sacred only when it flows both ways. When it doesn't, your duty is not to stay. It's to walk, with your head high, your back straight, and your soul intact. Reputation is not decoration, it is armor. It walks into the room before you do. It speaks louder than your words, and lingers longer than your presence. And yet most men treat it like a toy, oversharing, over-explaining, begging to be understood. They expose their fears, their flaws, their doubts, thinking that authenticity will earn respect. But it doesn't. It earns pity at best, contempt at worst. The world does not reward the most honest man. It rewards the most strategic one. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Translation: your power lies not in what's true, but in what's believed. So craft belief, build myth, control perception. Not by lying endlessly, but by choosing what to reveal and when. Show your strength, your calm, your command. Let the rest remain hidden. You're not obligated to bleed publicly for validation. You're obligated to project presence so potent that slander dies in silence. Reputation is fragile, a single crack, and years of power collapse. But when built with discipline, guarded with silence, and sharpened with precision, it becomes a weapon deadlier than any truth. Ask yourself, do people doubt you, question you, talk over you, or do they defer? Hesitate, watch you before they move? If not, your armor is missing. Forge it or fall. Peace is not the default state of the world. It is a pause, a brief illusion between storms. War is the constant. Machiavelli didn't just suggest this, he warned it. There is no avoiding war, it can only be postponed to the advantage of others. And yet men walk through life blind, soft, exposed. They think because the office is quiet, the market is stable, or the relationship is calm, that danger is far away. Fools. Every moment of stillness is someone sharpening a blade. Every handshake is a test. Every ally is a potential rival watching for weakness. If you're not preparing, you're surrendering. You just haven't noticed the terms of your defeat yet. You want to survive, prepare in silence, build when no one watches. Sharpen your skills, your body, your network like a weapon you might never use, but will never lack. Because when war comes, and it always comes, the man who trained in peace wins without panic. Look at the world's most powerful. Amazon stockpiles capital in calm years to crush startups in chaos. Politicians form alliances while smiling at enemies. Kings build armies before revolts. So what about you? Do you train your mind, your strength, your circle, even when there's no immediate threat? Or do you sleep in comfort, hoping the wolves won't smell blood? If you aren't ready to fight, you're already defeated. To survive the battlefield of life, being strong is not enough. You must be cunning. Machiavelli said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." Do you understand what that means? If you're only the lion, bold, powerful, direct, you will fall into every ambush. And if you're only the fox, clever, evasive, diplomatic, you'll be eaten by those who refuse to play your games. The man who endures is both, sharp enough to see betrayal before it arrives, and ruthless enough to crush it when it does. Strategy without strength is impotence. Strength without strategy is suicide. Fuse them and you become untouchable. This duality is rare. Most men pick one and die by it. The brute who charges into every conflict blind and proud, crushed by what he never saw coming. The schemer who manipulates, hides, whispers, until the day a real fight arrives and he has no claws. But the man who embodies both? That man is a nightmare. He walks into rooms with silence and certainty. He listens before he strikes. And when he strikes, there's no warning, only ruin. So ask yourself, are you watching and planning like the fox? Are you strengthening and preparing like the lion? If not, someone else is, and he's watching you. Deception is not corruption. It is survival. You were taught that honesty is noble, that truth always wins. But Machiavelli shattered that illusion. A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promises. Understand this. Deception is not the tactic of villains. It is the operating system of the world. Animals deceive to hunt and survive. Humans are no different. Politicians sell you dreams they never planned to deliver. Lovers promise forever, until forever becomes inconvenient. Corporations mask poison with slogans of joy. You think you're immune? You're not. You've just been taught to be the believer in a world of deceivers. The honest man doesn't rule. He suffers. He pleads for fairness in a system built on illusion. The strong man, he chooses when to reveal, when to lie, when to wear the mask, not because he's heartless, but because he knows that full transparency is a trap. He knows the difference between truth and utility. Should you lie always? No. Only when it protects you, empowers you, advances you. Honesty is not a religion. It's a weapon, and like all weapons, it must be used with purpose. Reveal only what serves you. And if they demand more, smile, nod, and keep your truth locked behind a steel mind. The world respects mystery. It devours openness. Morality is not truth. It is a leash, a tool forged by the powerful to control the masses. You were told to be good, to be fair, to follow rules. But who wrote those rules? Not saints, rulers. Every empire, every church, every regime invents a morality that serves its own survival. When they need obedience, they call submission a virtue. When they need war, they call bloodshed holy. When they need your silence, they call defiance a sin. And you, the obedient, swallow it, thinking you're righteous. But Machiavelli revealed the darker law. A prince must learn how not to be good. Not to abandon goodness, but to use it as a mask, to wear it like armor and remove it like a glove when it no longer protects. If you follow someone else's morality blindly, you are not virtuous, you are controlled. You think your goodness will be rewarded. The world isn't built to reward goodness. It rewards strategy. That's why the manipulators rise while the martyrs fall. That's why tyrants die in power while saints die unknown. If you want to win, you must stop clinging to fixed morality like a drowning man clings to a stone. Be moral when it gains you trust. Break morality when survival demands it. Do not live as a prisoner of should. Live as a wielder of could. Power bends morality. Weakness is bent by it. Choose your side and never apologize for choosing. You've been taught that people follow leaders out of love, respect, or admiration. But that's not the real engine of loyalty. The real engine is control, and control is built on two pillars: fear and reward. Strip away the slogans, the rituals, the poetry, and you'll see it everywhere. The parent disciplines and praises. The boss threatens and promotes. The lover withholds and then floods with affection. This isn't cruelty, it's psychology. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He didn't moralize, he observed. Men do not move because it's right. They move because it hurts or pleases. And the man who masters this balance becomes more than influential. He becomes inescapable. Too much reward breeds entitlement. Too much fear breeds rebellion. But if you can learn to alternate, to create hunger, then feed it, to create dread, then offer escape, you will own hearts, minds, and actions. This is why the victim stays with the abuser. This is why the dictator stays in power. The secret is not in domination, but in rhythm. Punish, then soothe. Withhold, then give. The addicted follower isn't chained physically. They're chained emotionally. So ask yourself, when you lead, when you love, when you persuade, are you balanced like a master or lopsided like a beggar? Because only the man who understands fear and reward truly understands control. Trust is not carved in stone. It is blown glass, clear, sharp, and one crack away from oblivion. You've been sold the fantasy that trust is forever, that once earned, it becomes an unbreakable bond. But Machiavelli knew better. Trust exists, only as long as it serves both sides. The moment it stops serving one, it vanishes. Your friend stops calling when you're no longer useful. Your partner changes when your value drops. Your employer forgets your loyalty the second profits dip. This isn't betrayal, it's nature. The man who builds his life on blind trust is a man standing on a frozen lake in spring, beautiful until it breaks beneath him. So what do the strong do? They don't beg for trust. They manufacture it. They project. Consistency, image, mystery. Not because they're pure, but because they understand. Perceived trust is more powerful than real trust. Think of the con man, the politician, the seducer. They don't need to be truly trustworthy. They just need to look the part. And most people desperate for safety will believe the performance. That's why trust is not something you deserve. It's something you control. The man who understands this never pleads for belief. He builds it, weaponizes it, and, when necessary, walks away from it like a suit of armor he outgrew. You now stand at the edge of a terrifying clarity. The illusions are burned, the lies are ash. You were raised on myths, that people are rational, that goodness is enough, that honesty leads to success. But now you see that behind every smile is a calculation, behind every virtue, a negotiation. That power doesn't flow to the deserving, it flows to the prepared. Machiavelli wasn't a cynic, he was a surgeon. He peeled back the skin of civilization and exposed the bone. And the bone says this: people are not rational, they are emotional. They do not follow truth, they follow feeling. And the man who shapes emotion shapes the outcome. Logic is a whisper, emotion is a roar. Win the roar, and the world bows. But with this clarity comes a burden. You can no longer pretend. You can no longer walk into a room believing in face value. You can't hear "I love you" without wondering, for how long? You can't accept loyalty without testing it. You can't trust power unless you hold it. This is not paranoia, it is vision. You've stepped into a new world, a darker world, but a real one. And in this world, weakness is not forgiven. It is fed upon, which means you have a choice: evolve or be consumed. The man who sees and refuses to act is worse than the blind. He is a coward with vision. But the man who sees and builds, who crafts strength, weaponizes clarity, and embraces control, that man does not just survive the world, he bends it. Every interaction you'll ever have from this point forward carries a new weight, because you now know what most never will. You know that reputation precedes action, that loyalty without power is self-sacrifice, that fear commands more than love, and that morality is a costume worn by those who fear naked ambition. These aren't opinions. They're observations hardened by centuries. Machiavelli didn't invent these truths. He simply named them, refined them, and dared to write them down. What you do with them now defines who you become. Because knowledge this raw, this explosive, is not harmless. In the hands of the unaware, it creates bitterness. But in the hands of the strong, it creates destiny. Ask yourself, are you the man who bends at every conflict, apologizes when he's right, gives loyalty to the undeserving, and prays that one day someone will reward his goodness? Or are you the man who understands that life is war, that masks are tools, and that strategy is the highest form of integrity? The first man hopes, the second man acts, and action is the only thing this world respects. You now carry a weapon, not a blade, but an awareness so sharp it can cut through lies, manipulation, betrayal, but only if you wield it, only if you step into the chaos and claim your role, not as servant, not as spectator, but as architect of your own power. Knowledge does not liberate cowards, it crowns warriors. Understand this final warning. You cannot unknow what you now see. The veil has lifted, the illusions are gone. From now on, every handshake is a negotiation, every compliment a potential bribe, every alliance a battlefield waiting to ignite. The man who walks blindly into this terrain, armed with morals, dreams, and smiles, is a lamb among wolves. But you've stepped beyond that. You see the hidden machinery, the code beneath the system. And here's the final truth. The world is not evil. It's amoral. It does not care if you're good. It cares if you're effective. Morality doesn't keep you safe, power does. And the man who understands this doesn't cry about injustice. He builds himself into justice incarnate. So what now? You have two choices. Bury this knowledge. Pretend it was just a video, just a passing thought, just an idea too dark to keep. Or use it. Let it harden your spine. Let it sharpen your eyes. Let it burn away the softness that kept you weak, passive, forgettable. Because if you're brave enough to wield these truths, you'll begin to move through the world differently. You'll speak with weight. You'll command with calm. You'll radiate a presence that says, I know how the game is played, and I will not lose. Most men live and die in cages built by fear and false virtue, but you found the key. Now the only question is, do you walk free or stay behind the bars you were born into? The man who embraces these truths does not become a monster. He becomes unshakable. He doesn't betray everyone. He chooses who to trust and when. He doesn't manipulate for sport. He influences with purpose. He doesn't abandon morality. He wields it like a sword, sharp when needed, sheathed when not. He becomes, in essence, untouchable, not because he's immune to pain, but because he is prepared for it. Not because he's heartless, but because he refuses to be a slave to naive hope. The world fears this man because it cannot control him, and that is the true definition of power. Not domination, but freedom. From domination. So now if you've made it this far, if you've felt something awaken in you, do not let it die in silence. Like this video. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Not for me, for you. Because the next lesson will go deeper. It will not make you comfortable, it will make you formidable. This is not the end, it's the door to a new beginning, one where you no longer ask for power, you embody it. And when that happens, you will never be ignored again. Every empire begins not with a sword but with a shift, a single moment where a man refuses to be ruled by lies. That moment is now. You've seen what most will never see, that truth is optional, that power is silent, that the world bends not to fairness, but to force of will. And yet, the greatest lie of all still whispers in your ear, go back, be normal, be liked, be safe. But that voice is the ghost of the man you used to be. Let him die, because from this moment forward, you are not playing the game. You are writing it, not reacting, but commanding, not asking, but deciding. You were told to obey. Now you choose to reign, so here is your final task. Share this with the man who still sleeps. Be the spark, be the rupture, be the wolf at the door of every illusion. And when the world tells you to soften, to smile, to submit, remember what Machiavelli wrote and what you now embody. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. So carry that fear, carry that fire, because from this moment on, you are no longer just a man. You are danger incarnate, and the world will never ignore you again.